How's it going, guys? It is Chad here from Lou Tunes, and now we are here to talk about 5 cartoons that I think need reboots. Generally speaking, I am not an advocate for reboots. If something was great, if something was even good, I tend to think just leave it where it was. Let it be good, let it be great. Let's get in and talk about these reboots.
Reboots are something that we're gonna get no matter what, both in animation and live action. And oftentimes, in this sort of Transformers era, if you will, the word reboot is synonymous with bad. But there are, of course, some great examples of when reboots in animation have been good. Of course, you guys know I'm going to cite Thundercats 2011, which took a series that a lot of people find campy and would think doesn't hold up at all, and turned it into a really fun, modern cartoon that was extremely reverent of the original, not upsetting the old school fanboys like myself, while bringing lots of its own new spins to the property. Also, it was cancelled almost immediately, so I guess take that with a grain of salt. Of course, the term reboot means different things to different people these days. It's sort of this nebulous thing. But for the 5 entries I've picked, I'm talking only about pure reboots, where you take an existing property and sort of reinvent its look and vibe and start it back up from the very beginning, updating it, as it were, for today's audiences. Something like the new DuckTales looks to be doing. Now, I've got to admit that generally speaking, I don't really like reboots. I'd always prefer just new things to be created. So picking 5 properties here that I could genuinely get excited about was not easy for me. But alas, here are 5 older cartoons in no particular order that I think would make great reboots. First up, we've got The Pirates of Dark Water, and it, like many of the entries on this list, may be a series you haven't heard of, or maybe just don't recall. It was short-lived, but this tune has always stuck in my mind, and I think now would be a great time to dredge this one back up from the deep. That's a pirate reference, last one, I promise. In a fantasy world that is being overtaken by mysterious and alien dark water, a misfit crew of pirates have to find a series of rare treasures to save the very universe. Starring this guy, Ren, who I always felt pretty sure was the inspiration for Xander in Drawn Together. Now, these late 80s, early 90s action cartoons, which are probably my very favorite genre of all, are probably some of the hardest to reboot in the modern day. They have this element of cheesy charm to them that tends to be really, really hard to replicate. I mean, just ask the He-Man reboot. But I think with a slick new look, Pirates of Dark Water can transcend that limitation and make an exceptional reboot because of, well, pirates. People just love pirates, right? I mean, I guess. Tie in the fantasy elements and some cool visual opportunities that you'd get with the oceanic settings and some fun new pirate designs, and I think that the Pirates of Dark Water 2018 could be the next awesome action fantasy cartoon. Next up, Totally Spies. So, you thought that one teenage girl living a double life as a kick-ass spy was cool? Well, how about 3? Now, of course, Totally Spies had a totally different vibe to Kim Possible, but it's a vibe that I think people would totally dig in 2017 and beyond. Now, of course, I have to mention that it seems that Totally Spies has continued to air as the years have gone by in France and other international places. The voice actors seem to have been pretty much in flux, and pretty much how and where it airs seems very up in the air. So as I'm speaking about a reboot, I guess I'm talking about a full comeback on one of the larger networks here in the States, since that's where I'm from. Totally Spies had not only a cool, vibrant, and bubbly color palette, but also the very tone of the show was just as colorful. It had this very loopy anime vibe to it. The humor is very reminiscent of something like Teen Titans or MLP Friendship is Magic, which is something that I think people really love at the moment. And unlike the other shows I've included, I think the art designs wouldn't need much updating. The show still looks great. So, I don't know about you guys, but I hope to see Sam, Alex, and Clover brought back to task to make a totally kick-ass reboot. We now interrupt this programming to bring a quick thank you to this video sponsor, the Quid app. Quid is a new app that lets you collect cards, Funko Pop figures, and cool stickers that you can use in text messages, all for free on your smartphone. You can open card packs and collect them. Always fun doing that because you never know what rare cards you might get. And if you're a Funko Pop figure fan, then you will love to collect these awesome 3D Funko Pop figures. Hey, I got a Meeseeks. Looks a little beaten up. But my favorite has got to be the stickers, and you can't get these anywhere else but the Quid app. They've got so many awesome properties from Rick and Morty, Powerpuff Girls, Family Guy, Bob's Burgers, Five Nights at Freddy's, Marvel, the list goes on. And you can drag and drop them straight into your text messages, which is an awesome way to annoy your friends. Hey, come on, Chris. Steven's not that bad. Seriously, though, if you're like me and you use a lot of emojis just to troll your friends, why not replace that little skeptical yellow guy with a little skeptical Morty? It's like a trillion times better. So you should check out the Quid app. They're putting out new stuff every day that you can collect, and you might even get something super rare. All the information is down in the description, and best of all, it is totally free. So while I open my Dexter's Lab card pack here, let's check out some more tunes that I think should be rebooted. Sorry, Dexter, you're not on the list, I'm afraid. You were good as you were. We don't need to bring you back. Oh god, please don't bring it back. Space Ghost Coast to Coast. Man, so I've been watching some episodes over again to refresh my memory, and by George, it is so weird and so awesome. In the late 90s, this show was way ahead of its time, and watching it back, it's even funnier than I remember. Space Ghost, just to catch you up, is a Hanna-Barbera superhero created totally unironically in the 60s, but this show takes the seasoned hero and gives him his own talk show, where he has weird monologues, he awkwardly interviews celebrities, and just does a ton of very strange stuff. If you're a fan of Tim and Eric, or Between Two Ferns, or The Eric Andre Show, you will love this show. Or better yet, you will love a reboot of this show. It's one of the early adopters of that sort of dry, awkward, uncomfortable humor that you see a lot lately. Space Ghost himself is this strange, oblivious personality that would work amazingly if brought back. I'd love to hear his take on modern stuff like smartphones, hoverboards, Justin Bieber. Is that what the kids are talking about these days? It's got that heavy level of uncomfortable awkwardness that I think would be perfect to bring back. I think of all the shows that I'm talking about in this video, Space Ghost Coast to Coast is the most likely to actually happen. And frankly, I wouldn't put it past Adult Swim to bring this one back, not only because it's one of its founding shows when Adult Swim was first ever released, but just because it's such a weird and rare gem. So back to the 1960s we go for my next reboot pick. Of course, I am talking about none other than Johnny Quest, a series where an adventurous boy joins his adopted brother Haji, his father a scientist, and a daring action hero as they go on wonderful adventures. Now, I know what you're saying. Chad, Johnny Quest has already been rebooted in the 80s, and then again in the 90s. And there's even a live-action reboot in the works starring The Rock and Zac Efron. Should be good. But I think a proper reboot of the animated show could really work amazingly. With Gravity Falls setting a new and popular precedent for mystery adventure, there's never been a better time for Johnny Quest to make a comeback. DuckTales, as I mentioned, is already trying to make its way into that space. And of course, Venture Brothers itself being inspired from Johnny Quest to begin with. And of course there's Johnny Test, which is completely unrelated to Johnny Quest, I think. I'm actually not too familiar with Johnny Test. Let's look up online what the differences are between the two. Okay, let's see what we got here. Johnny Quest was the best cartoon ever made, period. The rest are just mass-produced garbage made by Chinamen. So bad, it's guaranteed. Okay, that's enough internet for one day. Point is, the landscape may be crowded, the adventure mystery vibe is hot right now, but I think that a Johnny Quest reboot could do the genre justice. It could please fans of the original and bring in new fans, so long as it doesn't take itself too seriously. Looking at you, 90s reboot. The real adventures of Johnny Quest? Yeah, real shit. It's Kablam! Where cartoons and comics collide, as the intro puts it. Kablam was an interesting thing. I think that unlike all the other entries, Kablam would need the biggest overhaul from its original form. Kablam is sort of a variety series that features sketches of stop motion, 2D, claymation, motion comic, you name it. The original Kablam had a very distinct tone to it that feels very classic Nickelodeon. Figure it out, stick sticklies, salute your shorts, you know the Nick I'm talking about. And because of that, I think that most of the art and sketches would have to be scrapped and built from the ground up, except of course for Action League Now, which was always the best and most hilarious sketch from the show. That's gotta come back. But other than that, I think that Henry and June, the hosts, get a total revamp, and the rest is all new sketches and comics and cartoons. Now, not only would this be a spectacular way to get lots of cool shorts from various new artists on the animation scene, but it would be something really different in the landscape of Nicktoons at the moment. It would be like a breath of fresh air, I think. Kablam has the heart of a 90s kid, and I know that has a bad connotation, but I think with a minor facelift, it could be something really, really cool that people would love to watch today and tomorrow.
So there are my 5 picks for things that should be rebooted, but it's a sensitive topic. People don't want to see things that they love dredged up from the dead and painted with makeup like it's a corpse that is supposed to be alive, Weekend at Bernie's style. So let me know what you think of my picks. Maybe there's things that you guys think should be brought back, and I would love to hear what those are down in the comments or over on Twitter. I always try to reply to comments over there, so catch me on there at LouToons. And thank you guys so much for watching. We have got another video coming up for you that is not quite as positive. The 5 cartoons that should not be rebooted. And there's a lot more than 5 that shouldn't be rebooted, but these are 5 that I think in particular should never be rebooted. So check that one out. It's not out yet if you're watching this on release day, but it is out if you're watching it later. Check that one out. It's gonna be fun, it's gonna be weird, and I'll see you there. Thanks again for watching, guys.
Oh, and one more thing. If you enjoyed this video, or if you just enjoy my channel in general, you can always feel free to hit that like button. It's the best way to help my channel out because it helps to spread the video out into the internet and get more people to see it, which is always great. So thank you so much again for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.